Dear learners, I am Christina Georgy, your academic counselor for the course code BPCS-186 titled Managing Stress. Dear learners, let me remind you that this video is more or less a continuation of what we have already discussed in our points to remember video with respect to BPCS-186 TEE preparation. So if you haven't watched that video, please refer to that before watching this. You may find the link in the description, or you may check out our playlist on BPCS-186. How to prepare effectively for BPCS-186 TEE. Dear learners, first and foremost, I would like to tell you that most of the students are of the impression that, oh, it's managing stress, it's an easy paper, I'll crack it. I appreciate your confidence, you need to be confident, but at the same time, you need to be prepared as well. For the last year's TEE, what I saw was that most of the learners were very much confident regarding this paper. They were of the impression that they will be able to make up answers for this question because all the concepts, at least most of them, are familiar to you, right? Except for the models of stress, you might have at least heard of some of the concepts discussed in this course code. I agree. But when you sit for the examination, unless you have read the study material, unless you have listened to the lectures, unless you have prepared effectively, unless you have revised and re-revised, you won't be able to remember everything. See, none of us are robots. We need to read and reread, prepare notes, remember all those tips and techniques that I have discussed with you. Yes. Please make sure that you go through all these, prepare your own strategies and make that work. Dear learners, there is still time. Better late than never. Another aspect is that, as you must have seen in the question paper, the previous question paper, at times you will be asked to answer one or more questions as part of a single question. And there will be mark division like 2 plus 8 or 3 plus 7. Refer to the question paper analysis video. There I have explained all these aspects. So you should structure your answer accordingly. For that matter, you need to be well equipped. You need to know from which unit this question is. You need to have an idea regarding all the concepts. Then again, people ask me, learners ask me, ma'am, which are the important questions? See, we have already discussed the important questions. Then again, I would like to stress the importance of Unit 2, Models of Stress. That is a scoring area, my dear learners. Most of you must be thinking like, oh, it's difficult. How will I be able to crack it? See, don't you remember the importance of diagrams that I mentioned? Very often they would ask you to draw diagrams as well. See, it's very easy if you are prepared. Make sure that you draw the diagrams. Even for questions that doesn't ask you diagrams, make sure that you draw the diagrams. It does work, especially in this paper. You have lot of diagrams, especially in Unit 2, 7, etc. Remember, when you draw the diagrams, draw neatly. And try not to consume too much space for the diagrams, and try to avoid colors. It's for the assignments that we use many colors. Make sure that you draw using blue or black ink itself to be on the safe side. Remember, you will be given an answer booklet consisting of 26 pages. The 27th page is for rough work and the 28th page would carry instructions. So technically you will be having just 26 pages to write. It is more than enough for just a 50-mark paper. So plan your answers accordingly. One tip that I would say is that for questions that carry equal marks, that is, all these questions carry 10 marks, right? So for such questions, try to maintain a uniform length. Try to maintain a uniform length. Like for the first question, if you have written 3 pages, make sure that you write 3 pages for the second question as well. See, it all depends on your handwriting, and it's not about filling the pages. It is about writing the main points, the key points. Always remember that. Exam preparation videos have been telling you to prepare your own notes, right? Yes, just the key points so that you will be able to revise effectively. If you have done that, that would certainly help you. There are some learners who prefer choosing and studying units, right? Yes, especially for the last minute preparations. I know there are people who leave units. But dear learners, for this particular paper, I would say that would be risky, because from block 1 there would be 4 questions and you need to choose at least 2. So what if they ask questions from the areas that you leave? It would be safe not to leave more than 1 unit from each of the 2 blocks. That would be the safer option. Dear learners, let's now look at the most important areas to study for your upcoming TEE. As we already discussed, let's expect at least 1 question from each of the units. That is, at least 1 question from all 8 units can be expected. If we look at Unit 1, there you need to study the concept and nature of stress. We have discussed all these in detail in our videos. Remember the term stressor? They can ask you a question regarding this aspect. If so, remember to draw the diagram, which is figure 1.1 on page number 16 of your official IGNOU study material. You need to be aware of all the 5 different types of stress. Remember eustress, neustress, distress, hyper and hypostress? Yes, keep that in mind. The sources of stress are also important. Frustration, conflict of motives. There are many subtypes. Remember, approach conflict, avoidance conflict, approach avoidance conflict, and multiple approach avoidant conflict. Then pressure, life events, daily hazards, interpersonal relationships. Stress is a result of social conditions. So you need to be aware of all these aspects. If you look at Unit 2, as I already told you, this is very important. You can expect 1 or more questions from this unit. The models of stress. They have already asked you questions on the general adaptation syndrome and cognitive appraisal model. Hence, these 2 are very important. You need to have a deep understanding on fight or flight response. Study the diagram also, person environment fit model, and all the other models mentioned in this particular unit are also important. Give due importance to the first 4 models. Factors contributing to stress proneness. So this is part of Unit 3. There also you have 5 subpoints, that is type A personality, hostility, perfectionism, procrastination, and learned helplessness. If you have time, it would be great if you could have a look at the moderators of stress as well. Remember to study LOC, which is locus of control. If you look at Unit 4, they will certainly ask you a question regarding the effect of stress, probably on health. You need to also study the effect of stress on performance and productivity. There also you have a diagram, figure 4.1 on page number 48, that states the effects of stress are interrelated. That is, performance and productivity, health, relationships, all these are interrelated. Remember those discussions we had in class? Yes. If they ask you a question on performance and productivity, remember to draw that inverted U graph which is figure 4.2 on page number 52 of your study material. There will be a sure question based on unit 5, coping with stress. They could ask you the goals of coping, where you should also mention the nature and definition of coping. Then there could be questions based on coping styles. They may even ask you specific questions such as differentiate between proactive coping and avoidant coping, or emotion focused coping and problem focused coping. See, I would say this is also a very important unit. Like unit 2, you should give due attention to unit 5. Similar is the case with unit 6. As you can guess, there will be questions based on stress management strategies or stress management techniques. We have discussed this particular unit in a very detailed manner. The most important techniques are mindfulness and biofeedback. You should study these two for sure. If you are lucky, you will get a question on either of these two. Remember, there are many stress management techniques like relaxation technique, meditation, yoga, mindfulness and biofeedback. Maybe they can also ask you a general question based on this. Then you need to mention all these. Unit 7 consists of cognitive restructuring and time management. They have already asked you questions regarding time management. So this time you could also expect questions based on cognitive restructuring. Dear learners, I would say you would be lucky if you get a question on cognitive restructuring. I have explained this area in my lectures. Remember to draw the diagram of the ABCDE technique. That's very easy. I'm very sure that all of you understood. Remember REBT, that is Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy. Make sure that you study the diagram also. It's very easy if you understand the concept. From Unit 8, you can expect questions based on interpersonal skills. They have already asked you questions regarding emotional intelligence and conflict resolution. We've already studied this effective communication aspect in our last year's course on BEGAE 182, English Communication Skills, remember? There the concept of personal spaces and the different zones of personal space are important. If possible, study problem solving as well. Dear learners, this is a very easy paper. You just have 2 blocks and 8 units in total. You have enough and more time to prepare effectively for this paper. If at all you are leaving any units, make sure that you don't leave more than 1 unit from each of the 2 blocks. Now let's look at some of the most important points to keep in mind while you are at the exam hall. I would like to remind you to please find the link to my BPCS-186 playlist in the description. We have discussed all the units of this particular course code in a very detailed manner. I am very sure that you will find these useful as well. So dear learners, please be confident. There is still time. Prepare effectively. All the very best for your TEE. Do well. Best wishes.